Fresh off of a bye week, the Cincinnati Bengals host the Pittsburgh Steelers, who fell in the snow globe game on Thursday night. Justin, big AFC North showdown again for the Steelers. You watched them live in person last week. Can they bounce back?
They can definitely bounce back. They have all the pieces. When you have TJ Watt on your team, albeit he did not make any plays Thursday night at that game, it was a little bit of a quirky one. The Steelers, they fell down and fell behind to the Browns. They looked discombobulated. And then in true Steeler fashion, in 2 consecutive series, they get a strip sack, get the ball back, score, hit a seam up the middle later on and take the lead. You feel like the game's over and the Browns at 2-8 can't come back. The snow is coming down. There's 2 inches of snow on the field. They're shoveling the sidelines. The dog pound's going nuts. And there's a little magic in the air that night. Jameis Winston leads a drive, had a good conversion late in that game, and then runs it in and absolutely gets meleeed by Cam Hayward. I thought he wasn't going to get up. One of the best football games I've ever experienced, whether that's playing or just the short time I've been traveling to these games on Thursday nights. The Steelers definitely can bounce back. But it might be surprising when it comes to my pick later on, who I have winning this one.
You're just going to leave it out there, huh? Just a little cliffhanger.
I think the Bengals take it to kind of jump the gun there. But there's no reason the Steelers can't win. What I have seen, though, is coaching matters. Shout out to Jay Gruden down there. You look at what Jim Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin have done year in and year out. Jim's come in and you see the guys love playing football for him. Then you go to Mike Tomlin. Every single year, he's over 500 for a reason. Guys love playing for that man, and there's no game that they can't compete in. So I definitely would never count the Steelers out.
We loved playing for Jay, and we didn't win very many games a couple times.
All right, Colt. All right. You guys want to play this game, huh? It's one thing if Pugh makes fun of me, but now Colt's going to jump on me?
I'm taking your back. I'm saying,
okay.
we love Jay. But we still lost some games. They don't win games because their players love them. We all love Jay.
We do all love Jay. Listen, hey, Joe Burrow is having an unbelievable season. If you put Joe Burrow on a winning team, Colt, he's probably right next to Lamar in the MVP conversation, maybe even leading it, right? How frustrating do you think it is for him every week? And how good has he been this season?
We've talked Joe Burrow a lot on this show. To me, his best attribute of all the things that he does well, he's clutch and he's a leader and he goes to work every day. You're not ever going to hear him throw anybody under the bus. It's always going to be, I need to play better. That's what I love about Joe Burrow. He's a stud and he's having a great year. He's got good weapons around him. Even though they haven't won games, they've been in every game. And I'm sure it's very frustrating for him that, he can't go play defense and get a stop here and there. Right? You go all the way back to the Commanders game early in the season. He threw 4 touchdowns and would answer every time, and they just couldn't get a stop at home. And you knew at that point it was going to be a long season for the Bengals if they couldn't figure it out on defense. But you don't have to worry about Joe Burrow, right? And Jamar Chase, what he brings to the table and the coverages that he makes you play, because if you play him man-to-man, he's going to win every time, helps Joe Burrow a ton. This is a good game. And if you talk about must-wins, I don't really – love talking about must wins, but if you're the Bengals, sitting at 4-7, you got the Steelers coming to your house, off a bye week. You've had, probably 10 days of a game plan getting ready for the Steelers. That you need to go out there and play well. One guy who's going to, Joe Burrow, for sure.
There's no question about it. He's having an unbelievable season, but he has to be frustrated with all the times he's putting up these numbers and they're losing. But you know what else is frustrating? Seeing a bunch of viewers not subscribe to our channel, Clean Pockets channel, missing out on some great content. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything coming out of this channel.
Jesus.
Nailed it.
I'm not doing that. I can't remember that.
All right, Jay, looking at the way the Steelers play versus the Bengals, the stark contrast and physicality really seems to stand out. Can the Bengals go toe-to-toe with this Steelers team?
Hell no. This is not the type of game the Steelers or the Bengals want. They don't want to play toe-to-toe. The Bengals got to spread them out. Get Chase Brown out in space. Get it to T. Higgins. Get it to Jamar Chase on a screen. Let him run. Let's get away from J.J. Watt and Cam Hayward. I don't want to be anywhere near those guys. Now, the Steelers, on the other hand, they're going to pound the Bengals into submission. They're running the ball extremely well. They can do it out of 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets, whatever they want. They're going to get the ball to Najee Harris, and he's running physical this year. Take the pressure off Russ Wilson. I want Russell Wilson to throw the ball no more than 22 times in a game. Hand the ball off. Get the ball to your backs. Let's pound the Bengals because they haven't stopped anybody yet. So that's going to be Pittsburgh's game plan. And then every once in a while, we know the moon ball's coming to Pickens. The Bengals got to stop that. But I expect this to be a shootout style game for the Bengals and a ground and pound game for the Steelers. Two totally different game plans coming in. It'll be fun to watch.
God, I would have loved playing for you, Jay. I used to hate whenever we'd sit there and go 12 personnel, 22 personnel, and we're just getting, hey, let's just invite the entire stadium into the box, huh? Like, let's spread them out. Let's spread Cam Hayward and get him in a 3 technique and try and hit the trap up underneath. But listen, Jay mentioned Chase Brown. Justin, the Bengals have weapons all over the field. Chase Brown is an emerging star. Can you speak on the elements of his game that you love?
Yeah, the last 3 weeks, he's been one of the best running backs in the NFL. If it wasn't for Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, a whole lot more of us would be talking about Chase Brown. A little late to bloom here. An Illinois product, undersized guy. You know, it wasn't like you look at him and you're like, oh, that's our starting running back. And since Zach Moss has gone down, Chase Brown has become the star. He's playing like 85% of the snaps, which is wild. He has the ability to catch it out of the backfield. He's running the ball extremely well, which is even more impressive with the offensive line that the Cincinnati Bengals are trotting out there right now. They've lost both their starting tackles, who are mountain of men, and Chase Brown is still getting it done. You mix in what Jamar Chase can do down the field, T. Higgins being that red zone threat. Mike Gesicki's even shown flashes in there. He had a 2-touchdown game on National Tight End Day. But Chase Brown is finally getting that recognition that he deserves, and why so many people preseason were high on him. He was almost a forgotten man. I was reading up on him the other day or earlier this week, and the comparison came out there. And I'm not saying I'm making this comparison, but what he's done the last 3 games, they were comparing it to LaDainian Tomlinson, like an undersized guy, not the biggest school, you know, TCU, Illinois, and what he was doing early on in his career. So I know Jay's going to have a snarky remark about he played against LT in the arena ball and no one's ever going to compare to him, blah, blah, blah. But yes, the way he's built and the production he has the last 3 games is nice. I know I have a mustache, so I might be a little untrustworthy, but Chase Brown's a legit baller. The Bengals found their Joe Mixon replacement into the future. The question is, can he carry the load and sustain that type of usage for an entire season?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is he doesn't need to carry the load. They have weapons everywhere, right? And so, you know, listen, going into the Steelers game, Colt, the Steelers seem to keep every single game close, and they just seem to find ways to win. If the Bengals put a 35-point onslaught on like they did against the Ravens earlier in the year, do the Steelers have enough offensively to hang with them?
No, I don't think so. I mean, listen, like you got to have a plan for TJ Watt. That guy's going to wreck a game if you don't put 4 hands on him all the time, chip him in protection. You know the struggles that the Bengals offensive line has had. And one of my problems with Cincinnati's offense is that Joe Burrow drops back all the time. Let's get some movements. Let's get some play action, fake zone keepers out of the pocket where he's not just a sit and duck back there all the time. Because if it turns into that game, Cincinnati's going to have a long night trying to protect Joe Burrow and let him push the ball down the field. I just don't see the Bengals letting this, getting up 14, 21 points on the Steelers. They play too good a defense. But at the end of the day, if they do, then they got a chance. And maybe they figure out a way that for their defense coming off a bye week to have some crazy plan to stop the zone and the play actions and the keepers off of it, which the Steelers are very good at and Russell Wilson's very good at. But most games they play, it's tight. And I think this one's going to be tight, and it's a matter of can the Bengals keep Joe Burrow's jersey clean, and they haven't proved to do that at any week. And they really, when you watch the Bengals, they line up in 2x2 formations and throw a quick game, throw a vertical game. There's no like motions to stacks. There's no like creativity in the play calls, and a lot of that is they don't have to. They're pretty good. All their guys can win their matchups, but they're going to have some version of that in their plan. I don't see the Bengals like getting up on like they did against the Ravens. The Steelers are too good on defense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you said that they don't need to do all the creativity because they win all their matchups. The one thing I'll come back at you with is their offensive line is not good enough to win all their matchups.
Yeah, receivers are good enough. Joe takes a beating every week and just stands right back up and throws strikes. And this week, if they don't have a plan for that, we talk about TJ Watt, but Cam Hayward.
Yeah, they got guys everywhere up front. You're right. I mean, 100%. They got all the skill, but they lack protection.
Well, how about a little bit of creativity and protection? Jay, we used to bring the tight ends up and chip and run 2 and 3 man routes. Like you got to be able to do some of that. And it's get out of the just line up in 2x2, 5-man pros. No one can really do that against the Steelers.
Speed break quick. Remember that? Speed break quick?
Yeah.
Loved
change
all
up
that stuff.
down. Yeah.
I think you guys are right, man. I as much as I love Burrow with Chase and all those guys, it's going to be hard for them to attack Pittsburgh's weaknesses because Cincinnati's weaknesses are Pittsburgh's strength, and that's their offensive line. So it's going to be a weird dilemma. Let's get the ball to Chase down the field. Yeah, okay, I'll wait for Chase to run 25 yards while TJ Watt's running untouched on this right tackle. It's going to be a interesting way. I think you're going to see a lot of quick game, like Colt says, a lot of screen game to Jamar Chase, getting Chase Brown out there. But the thing about Chase Brown, he's not very big. He's not a between the tackle guy. He's playing 85% of the snaps right now, which I don't think he's a guy that can last that long doing that. He's a guy that needs to be like a Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, a little 50-50 action. But 85 to 15%, Khalil Herbert's got to play a little bit more, I think, or they got to get another back in there to provide some relief for him between the tackles.
To show their thanks, Underdog is stuffing the lobby with promos during their feast week. We're talking profit boosts, discounts, gimme picks, and so much more. And if you bring your friends to the table during their Refer a Friend event, you'll both be eating on Underdog. Head to the Underdog app and start feasting. All right, let's get to some predictions. Who do you got, Justin?
Well, I alluded to that earlier. I didn't allude to it. I said it. I got the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the offense will get out in front on the Steelers. How many times can Pickens keep making these circus catches? There was times where the Steelers were stagnant against the Browns, a 2-8 team. They're definitely going to come out fired up. But again, I'm going Joe Burrow. I'm going Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Chase Brown to win this one. I think Trey Hendrickson, a lot of people sleep on him. He's going to get after the Steelers front as well. So I think they have a chance.
I'm taking the Bengals as well. We talked about the offensive line for of the Bengals not being all that great. I don't think the Steelers, I think they're a little overrated up front too. I think Trey Hendrickson will get off the rock a little bit, get some pressure. I think they'll do a good enough job stopping the run and hopefully forcing Russell to throw it on some third downs, and then they get some pressure. But overall, I always take, when it's a close game like this, I always take the better quarterback, and Joe Burrow is a better quarterback.
I agree with you about that Steelers offensive line take, because I think they got some guys that are a little underwhelming, but I kind of agree with you. I got the Bengals as well. Colt, who do you got?
Listen, the Steelers defense is they're stout.
Jameis Winston just gutted them. Relax.
It's a big game for the Bengals, no doubt. But like they got to figure it out. But at the end of the day, like, I'm taking the Steelers. The Steelers run the football. They control the clock. They got TJ Watt, who's all, by the way, going to be fired up after Myles Garrett's comments after the game last weekend. You think he's not going to have a fire lit under him? By the way, I think they're both good. Yeah. The one thing about the Steelers, you talk about their offensive line, like they outside of Pickens and they got a good tight end, they don't really have, they can't spread you out and dice you up. That's not their game. They're going to run the football, they're going to control the clock, and they're going to play good defense. That's a recipe in this division to win games. And I don't think the Steelers are going to lose 2 in a row. I got the Steelers.
Freiermuth is not a guy that separates, so they don't have a very good tight end. He catches 1 or 2 balls a game. I played his higher in Underdog like 3 times, higher 2.5 catches. He only catches 2. Calvin Austin is just a speed guy. Pickens is a just throw it up guy. The Steelers.
So you agree with me?
Yeah, so that's why I'm taking the Bengals.
And we're at that game. TJ Watt had zeros across the board. Like in a game where Myles Garrett called him out before, I thought TJ Watt was going to go off against the Browns. They were back there throwing the ball, and Watt got shut out by the Cleveland
Maybe
Browns.
He wasn't feeling good. He was a little cold. He's going to come out ready to play this week.
Yeah, he will. I mean, it's TJ Watt, and every statistical, he's a closer. We've talked about it.
It's got to be hard to rush a passer when it's snow on the ground. You can't get any footing, can't really get off the ball. Hands are cold. I don't know.
I mean, the first 3 quarters weren't in the snow, but yeah.
Touche.
Yes, I got him one time. One time I got a good comeback.